In this video, we're going to talk about how to protect your assets in case of a divorce. So hopefully you will see this video before it's too late, because once you're married, you're toast. So here we're going to talk about the point number one: property, salary, business, present and future. So how to protect all those things, because if you have, let's say, 5 houses, 10 boats, 50 cars or anything like that, you're going to lose everything, or just 50, at least 50%, depending on the judge that takes your case. Also, if you're wondering, well, I don't have anything, maybe I have one house, but you don't want to sell your house, just to give it to someone else, or 50% of it. Also, you may think, okay, I don't have a house, I have just a car, I'm here in US, okay, so what is the big deal? Yes, maybe you're 20 years old now, you don't have much, but when you're 40, you could be the next Jeff Bezos, or maybe the next Bill Gates, you never know. So make sure that this is not going to hinder your future, because, this is the worst part, the danger, what you can lose. Driver's license, passport, fishing and hunting license, areas, credit score, fine, jail time, felony, size, income. So they can do all those things to you in a blink of an eye. So if you don't pay child support or alimony or anything like that, and you're young, let's say you're 20s and you're earning maybe $3,000 or $2,000 a month, or you barely, surviving, and then you have to give, 50% or 40% of your salary to someone else, that will be like a big, heavy weight in your neck. So you don't want any of that. So I'm going to tell you how to prevent all this. So let's say with prenups. So this is something that you sign, is an agreement before you get married. Number 2, or B here, cohabitation. So just in case, if you're thinking, well, Ian, we're going to live together just for a few years, months, and see how it goes. Well, you have to keep that in check as well. So you have to have an agreement or anything like that. If she doesn't want to sign any of that, you're toast. So I'm going to go deeper just later on. So sell your company to your parents. We are going to talk about that later. No marry do not marry the state. B, do not marry don't get married in your country. Go to enemy country. Don't give away your credentials. So I'm going to explain more that later. D, don't plug in your kids into the matrix. And E, work online remotely. So let's start with point number 1. Okay, I just explained it before. So if you have maybe 3 houses, you are 40 years old, you have 5 houses, maybe 2 or 3 cars, maybe a yacht, an airplane, or something like that. You want to protect that. Even if you're younger, like I said, maybe you're in your 20s, it can hinder your future, because you will have to pay everything, plus you have to survive. So and you can lose all that. The judge will not care. So they will take you to jail if you don't pay alimony or child support or anything like that, and you're done. And if you get out of jail because they say, okay, you have to be a year or something like that, and okay, now you have to pay your wife, your ex-wife, whatever, and you say, well, I've been in jail, how do you mean to make the cash, to pay her? And they will say, well, we don't care, just get in again. So on. So I seen on YouTube, very sad things. Okay, so prenups. Let's talk about this. Prenups, like I said, is the agreement that you're going to have between you and your future wife. So this is what you have to do before you get married. So if she say no, it's all about love, and our love is not like any other love or something like that, you're going to be in trouble. Because if she say no, it's because she's thinking in her mind, okay, I get married with this guy, things doesn't work out. I at least I have my benefits. If she say yes, it's because she's fully committed that she's going to be for the long haul. No, just a short term, maybe 6 months or a year, and then she gets the benefit because whatever, she was a woman. So like remember, people or the human being, we get used to things very quickly. So you buy a new car and you enjoy it, yes, maybe 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and after a year, you're going to be thinking, oh, I want the next car, or I would like something better, or the car is start getting dirty, or it start having some dents here and there, and you're thinking, well, I don't like that much, or you live in a nice house in a nice neighborhood, and you're thinking, okay, this I'm telling you all this because that happened to me. So I have the nice house, and then you see the neighborhood and everything looks very neat, and after a few months, after a few weeks, you're going to start getting used to all that. And you will start thinking, okay, we need a bigger house, we have to buy a bigger TV, and you need more distractions or more things to fulfill your life or something like that. With the marriage is basically the same. It's like a drug, like a crackhead or anything like that. Maybe they eat or drink or smell whatever the drug, and they will feel like in the sky very high, and they will feel wonderful. But the second time, because the body now is getting used to the drugs, they will have to consume more drugs to get the same amount of height that they had before. So and so on until they have an overdoses and they die. But with human beings, it's the same thing. You're going to get married. And for the woman is the same thing. I mean, they're going to feel all the butterflies in their stomach and everything. So, but after a while, maybe a year, maybe 2 years, I mean, they're going to get used to it, and things are not going to be the same ever. So if you're not committed to the marriage, saying, okay, we are committed no matter what, she will say, oh, I see the neighbor is bigger, is better, is cuter, is amazing, he has a bigger car or whatever, and she will say, okay, goodbye, and she leaves, and that's it. So think about this, because for instance, in some states, they will say, well, if you are married like 10 years and a day, one day, you have to pay alimony to this woman forever, for life, until one of you die. And she can be with another guy, and you have to still have to pay her. So make sure that in the state that you're living is like marriage friendly or something like that. Otherwise, move to another state or move to another country. My best bet is if you move to another country, don't marry here. So don't marry in the country that you're living in. I'm going to explain a little bit later. The same thing with the kids. So if you're cohabitating, like I said before, you can create an agreement. Talk with a lawyer, talk with 2-3 lawyers just in case, because one lawyer may say, oh yes, I have something that I downloaded from internet, just as as a template, okay, just this is good enough. And maybe the other guy will say, oh no, but he forgot this, because your future depends on that. So make sure that 2-3 guys see this type of document before you move ahead. Also, make sure that you record everything, because if something happens and you get divorced or something like that, and the woman take it to the judge, and the judge will say, oh yes, everything is fine, you girl, you don't get anything, you have to go. But the girl will say, well, no, I was under the influence of alcohol or drugs, or I was, I was in the pressure. He was pressured me, to sign, and then I didn't know what I was doing or anything like that. And the judge will say, oh, poor little girl, okay, let's take all your stuff and give it to the girl. So if you do something like that, besides the prenup, the signature and the witness and everything, make sure that you record everything. And when you're recording, you tell your girl, okay, please explain point A, B, C, D, so that way, if something happens, you can upload it to YouTube later and keep it in your safe as well. And if something happens, the judge will say, oh no, she was fine, she wasn't, she was not drunk or high as a kite or anything like that, and she was understanding every point and she explained it and she was in agreement with that. So make sure you do that. Also, like I said, talk with your lawyer. Try to talk with another people that have been in the same situation. Point number C. Still, well, let's talk about the house first. So, because also your kids, let's say if you have kids, let's say, okay, who is going to take custody of the kids, she or you? So make sure that it's you, because otherwise she will spend all the child support for trips, for nights, for girls' nights out or something like that, with the future guy of this girl. So make sure that you have everything in place. Rent a house. Even if you have, let's say you have 10 houses and you say, okay, let's take one of the houses that I have and then we're going to live in that, in the best house. Everything will look, sounds fair, sounds reasonable, but if you're here in US or in another country like US, things are can turn ugly very quickly. How is that possible? Because if you live in your house and she said, my husband was abusing me, he was, trying to rape me, or he was trying to, make me do things that I don't want, or whatever is the reason, she could say, okay, just verbal abuse or physical abuse, anything like that. And then the police will come, they will take you out, they will put you to jail, or another thing, the judge will sign something saying, okay, you cannot live with her, you have to leave the house. And you say, what? It's my house, she have to go, not me. And you're toast. So in order to avoid that, rent a house. Because if you rent a house, she will know that if you're not there, you're not going to pay the rent, the utilities, the food, and everything. And if you don't pay any of that, she will have to do it. And if she's not working or anything like that, oh, bad luck, she's going to get evicted and she will have to go. So at least you can move to your house, and that will be another story. Anyway, talk with your lawyer. I'm not the lawyer. So now let's talk about the point number C. So you have to talk with the lawyer with everything I'm saying. If you have a big company or anything like that, sell it to your parents just in case before you get married. Even if you did all this, because something goes wrong, and if you get the minimum salary, but you have you can get another benefits because it's your company, something like that. At least you can retrieve your company later after the divorce or something like that. Other than that, you're going to be in bankruptcy. So point A, no married estate. Many people, they think that when they have to marry, if they need a priest or they need a pastor or something like that. That is far away from the truth. If you read the Old Testament, I don't know, maybe you're not a religious person, maybe you don't care about that, but if you read the Old Testament, you will see they didn't get any pastor or priest or anybody just to get married. The guy came, say, okay, now you're my wife, and you go to bed, you have your bedroom fan, and that's it. And she's your wife. You can introduce it to your family, neighbors, saying, okay, she's my wife, and that's it. So you don't need a paperwork. You don't need the state to get involved, because once the state gets involved, your life will be very hard, and they can decide what to do with your things, even if you have all this. So this is kind of layer one of protection, but you have to have as many layers of protection as possible, because things can go wrong very quickly. Don't marry in your country or go to your enemy country to get married. So I'm going to explain you this, because let's say you want to get married, and if you marry in your state or in your country, they can decide everything very quickly, what to do with your properties and your assets and everything. But if you're in another country, things are going to be way more difficult. And if you get married, in like an enemy country or anything like that, let's say, US Russia or US North Korea or US Venezuela or something like that. I know even in Venezuela the US embassy doesn't exist over there. They left the country, so everything is going to be way more difficult if they go to their country. Let's say that you go and you get married in Venezuela, and you say, okay, and she said, well, I want to get divorced or something like that, and then you move back to the States, and then if she wants to go to the court, and try to file some paperwork, so that way someone can get, your cash from US, that will be way more difficult than if they had a US embassy just in the country. So another thing that you can do is, like I said before, even if you do all that, for instance, I was talking with another guy that I was working with. He said, well, in my country in Africa, some country in Africa, the things that you're telling me doesn't happen here. So at least in Africa, he said, in Africa, you get married, and if the woman leaves, she is on her own. That's it. There is no judge. Nobody's going to take all your assets or anything like that. So many people from Africa, they're living here, they go there to get a wife because of that. So you can go and do your research. It depends on the country that you are. So that way you know all those things in advance. Okay, point number C, don't give away your credentials. So what do I mean with this? Your credentials is your name, last name, social security or ID, whatever your country you are. So if you know a girl, you can say, hey, my name is, and whatever your name is, you can say, hey, I'm James. And your last name, and you can say, I don't want to give you my last name, I'm not going to say it. Or you can create, even if your name is John, you can say James. Or if and you can create maybe like a nickname or something like that. Or you can say, hey, I'm James. What is your last name? Bond, James Bond. All right. So don't give away your credentials, because once they have your credentials, they have all those three information: first name, last name, the social security, and the date of birth. You're toast. They are going to have everything that they need to unplug you from the matrix, or do whatever they want. If they want to take your source of income or anything like that, even like I said before, they can remove your or void your driver's license, passport, fishing, hunting license, ruin your credit score, fines, jail time. I mean, they can do everything, but if they don't have any of that, you're going to be like a legal alien in the country. So that is one of their advantages. They don't have any of that, so there is no way that the government can do anything to those people, you know, the undocumented, like they say here. And so if you introduce yourself, you say, hey, I'm James. That's it. On your last name, I'm fine. Just call me James. And that's it. And create a new identity so that way you don't have any issues. In some places, this might be kind of illegal. Talk with a lawyer, like I said before. But like I said, if you are in another country, maybe laws are different in another country. So do your own research. Don't plug your keys into the matrix. Don't plug them in. So what does it mean is because you get married, for instance, or you're living together, whatever is the case, and your wife is pregnant, and you say, okay, let's go to the hospital so you can have the baby. And the hospital, they will ask you all types of questions that you don't want to answer. Of course, you don't want to give your credentials to them, and it's going to be complicated. So the best thing that you can do, you call the doctor, say, hey, I want to have the baby in my house, and that's it. Then there are many people doing the same thing. You can hire someone, or even a nurse. You have it in your house. That's it. If your kids, you know, when they are older and they want to go to school or something like that, they can be like undocumented, and you will see many Mexicans that their kids, they have born in Mexico, and those kids, they go to school anywhere anyway. So you create just an ID for them. I mean, I'm not saying do anything illegal, but I'm saying you create an identification. You can call them, hey, you're little James Bond, little James Bond. That's it. I mean, the Mexicans, they don't have any ID or anything like that. Whatever they say is whatever the school is going to take, So they're going to create their ID for you. So basically, another thing is if you're thinking, well, but what happens if my kid, they want to have a bank account, the driver's license? Okay, once they are 18 or 20s, you're free. I mean, you should be free at least. You don't have to pay, child support or anything like that. So if they want to plug into the matrix, it's their problem. It's not yours. I mean, they can do it anytime. Say, hey, I don't have anything. I need to plug into the matrix. Great. If they don't, they can do like the Amish community here in US. They don't rely. They don't have banks. They don't use the electricity. Some of them, they don't use what most of the people use, in the world, and they live just fine. So they don't have any problems. Point E. Work online remotely. So if you can do that, that will help you a lot, because if you're living in another country, like I suggested you before, maybe you're making dollars, euros, or whatever you're making in your home country, and maybe you're living in Mexico or the Dominican Republic or something like that, and maybe with $300 you can live like a king, and it will be way easier for you. So because you can have an income, so working online, and that is a win-win situation. And if worst case scenario, if things goes wrong, and you're living in a poor country, you can send her maybe $200, $300, and she will be living like very, very good, and your kids are going to be living very good as well, and you're not going to have any issue, because if you're doing the same thing here in US, I mean, they're not going to ask you for $300 a month. They're going to ask you maybe 50% of your salary, or whatever is your salary. So you're going to be in big trouble. So hopefully this video was useful. If you have any question, please let me know in the section below, and see you next time.